I need you to listen closely, because what I'm about to share isn't just a story, it's a warning. My name is Kofi, and I used to believe the past was just history. Old stones, old gods, old fears. But I was wrong. Dead wrong. I once followed treasure into the desert, and what followed me back is still with me. Before we go any further, take a second and subscribe to this channel, because some stories aren't meant to be forgotten. Hit the like button so the shadows don't swallow this memory, and drop a comment if you ever felt something watching you when you were alone. All right, let me tell you about Neferet-Amun, the priestess who never died. I never believed my grandmother's stories about curses. She used to sit by the fire, her wrinkled hands tracing strange symbols in the air as she spoke of gods and spirits older than the earth itself. "Some treasures," she'd whisper, "belong to the dead, Kofi, and the dead don't like to share." I'd nod, pretending to listen, while secretly rolling my eyes. Back then, I thought fear was just another word for weakness. Years later, standing under the blazing Egyptian sun with 8 of my closest friends, I thought about her again. The desert stretched endlessly, golden and silent, except for the wind that hissed like something alive. We had come for what the locals called the priestess of Ankana, a tomb buried in the sands for thousands of years, said to hold jewels blessed by the gods and cursed by her rage. There was Amir, our guide, born in Cairo and fluent in old myths. Beside him, Luca and Elias, both from Italy, all tattoos and arrogance. Naomi and Yael from Israel, quiet but fierce. Then there was Rafik, always laughing, even when he shouldn't. Lastly, Helena and Marek, who filmed everything for documentation, as they called it. And then there was me, the one who should have known better. We found the tomb at sunset. The sand seemed to tremble as we dug, the air thick and still. When a mere shovel hit stone, a deep metallic clang echoed beneath us. "We found it," he said, eyes wide with greed. But my chest tightened. The air felt wrong, heavier, like we'd woken something. The entrance was a narrow slit carved with hieroglyphs that seemed to shimmer when our flashlights touched them. One phrase repeated again and again: "Return not what was never yours." Rafik laughed. Guess she wasn't big on sharing. His joke echoed into the dark, bouncing off stone walls like a whisper that didn't want to die. We went in single file. My flashlight cut through centuries of dust, catching paintings of rituals. A woman with eyes like fire, surrounded by kneeling men. The priestess, no doubt. Her gaze followed us down the hall. I swear it did. When we reached the burial chamber, even Luca went quiet. The coffin was carved from black stone, inlaid with gold. Around it lay mounds of jewels, blood-red rubies, emeralds like frozen light, and a crown encrusted with scarabs. "Jackpot," Amir whispered. He knelt, trembling, and began to scoop gems into his bag. Something inside me screamed, "No." My grandmother's words flooded back, but I said nothing. The others followed Amir's lead, laughing, shoving treasure into backpacks like kids at a candy store. I stood still, watching the flicker of torchlight dance across the priestess's sarcophagus. Her face was carved serene, but her lips curved in something almost like a smile. I finally stepped forward and picked up one piece, a golden amulet shaped like an eye. It pulsed faintly warm in my palm. I told myself it was just the heat, but when I looked up, the air around the coffin shimmered, and I thought I heard someone whisper my name. We left the tomb before dawn, dragging our bags of stolen light into the waking desert. Behind us, the wind rose into a howl that sounded far too much like a woman's cry. The flight back to Cairo felt endless. Everyone was drunk on greed and adrenaline, except me. I kept turning the amulet in my hand, watching how the faint carvings seemed to shimmer like living veins beneath the gold. When the plane took off, I slipped it into my pocket and closed my eyes. That's when I saw her. It was only for a second, a flash behind my eyelids. A woman standing in sand and shadow, her eyes black as the desert night. Her lips moved, but the roar of the engines drowned her words. When I opened my eyes, my heart was pounding so hard I could barely breathe. That night in Cairo, we stayed at a small hotel. The laughter from the others filled the hall. Luca had lined up the stolen jewels across the bedspread like trophies. "We're going to be rich," he said, grinning wide. "We beat history itself." I didn't reply. I couldn't. Every time I glanced at the amulet, I felt like it was watching me back. Around midnight, I woke to a scream, a real one. I ran into Amir's room and found him standing in front of the window, trembling, eyes wide open. "She was here. In my dream, she said I stole her breath." He turns toward me, and for a moment, I thought his eyes were bleeding. The next morning, Amir was gone. His bed empty, his bag missing. The hotel clerk swore he saw him leave before dawn, heading toward the old city barefoot, still in his sleep clothes. We searched for hours. Nothing. The police thought he'd just run off. But deep down, I knew the truth. By evening, the laughter had died. The air in our rooms grew thick and heavy. Rafik tried to make jokes, but his voice shook. Naomi kept muttering prayers in Hebrew. Even Luca looked pale. "We can't start believing this shit. There's no curse. There's just bad luck." That night, I dreamed again. The priestess stood in a temple of shadows, her voice low and heavy as stone. "Return what you have stolen, or I will take what is mine." When I woke, the amulet was on my chest, though I remembered leaving it on the nightstand. I told the others. They laughed at first, but Marek's camera caught something strange in the background of the footage from the tomb. A figure, tall, veiled, half shadow, watching. None of us remembered seeing her when we were there. 2 days later, we found Amir's body, or what was left of it. His skin was shriveled, dried like parchment, his mouth frozen open in a scream that must have lasted forever. On his chest was a symbol burned deep into the flesh, an eye, just like the amulets. That night, nobody laughed anymore. We left Cairo that night. None of us said it out loud, but we were running. Rafik drove while the rest of us sat in silence, each lost in thoughts we didn't want to share. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Amir's face. Dry, hollow, frozen in that impossible scream. The police called it dehydration. I called it a warning. We checked into a cheap hostel in Alexandria, far from the desert. Marique said we should lay low until we figured things out. Luca kept pacing, mumbling about selling the jewels online. Naomi wanted to call her rabbi. No one dared mention Amir. We were all pretending we hadn't seen what we saw. That night I heard scratching, soft, like fingernails across stone. At first I thought it was rats. Then came the whisper. A woman's voice, low, distant, ancient. It called my name once, twice, each time closer. I grabbed the amulet from the table and the whisper stopped instantly, replaced by the hum of the old ceiling fan. In the morning, Naomi looked exhausted. Her hands shook as she sipped her coffee. "She came to me," she whispered. "In my dream, she told me to return what I took. She said my soul burns with her gold." Marique scoffed, rubbing his temples. "Dreams don't kill people, Naomi. Amir probably overdosed. Stop feeding this nonsense." That afternoon, Marique went through his footage again. We all gathered around his laptop. There it was, the priestess's face, clearer than before, half lit by our flashlights in the tomb footage. Her lips moved. When Marique slowed the video, we heard it. "You will return to me." Rafik slammed the laptop shut and cursed under his breath. That evening, Naomi disappeared. We found her phone on the bathroom floor, screen cracked. The shower was running, steam filling the air. And on the mirror, written in something dark, maybe blood, maybe something worse, were 3 words: "She is coming." We tore through the building searching for her. Nothing. Until the night guard came running from the alley behind the hostel. He had found a body in the dumpster. It was Naomi. Her eyes were missing. Her hands, too. Her mouth was stuffed with sand. The police said it was a wild dog attack, but the sand, there was no sand for miles around. Luca threw up right there in the street. Rafik went silent. Yael kept whispering a prayer over and over, her voice shaking. I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Naomi's face and heard that whisper again. I started wondering if I'd ever stopped hearing it. Maybe it had been there all along, just waiting for me to listen. After Naomi's death, something inside us broke. We didn't talk about leaving anymore. We didn't talk much at all. Lucas stopped filming, Marek stopped reviewing footage, and Yael wouldn't even touch her share of the treasure. The air around us felt poisoned. Every shadow looked like it was breathing. That night, I gathered everyone in my room. "We need to go back," I said. "Return what we took." They stared at me like I'd lost my mind. Rafik was the first to speak. "You think going back to that hellhole is gonna fix this? She's already here, man. She's not waiting in the desert." "She's haunting us because we haven't made it right," I insisted. My voice cracked. "Curses are like chains. They pull you back to the source until you break or surrender." Lucas snorted. "Your grandmother also believed in ghosts that steal cows. Enough with this superstition crap. Naomi's death was a coincidence. Amir's too. We just got unlucky." He said it like he was trying to convince himself. His hands wouldn't stop shaking. Yael stood quietly by the window, clutching the small ruby she'd stolen. Her eyes were sunken, her lips pale. "I hear her," she whispered. "Every night. In the mirror, in my dreams, in the water. She says she's waiting." The rest of us went silent, even Luca. That night, I couldn't stay in the same room. I walked through the narrow streets outside, trying to clear my head. The city slept, but I could feel the air shift, the kind of stillness that happens before a storm. I caught my reflection in a dark shop window. For a second, it wasn't my reflection at all. It was her, the priestess, staring back, her mouth curved in a knowing smile. I stumbled backward, heart hammering in my chest. When I ran back to the hostel, I heard screams. Rafik was in Luca's room, pounding on the door. "It's her!" he shouted. "It's her! She's inside!" We broke down the door, and the lights inside flickered violently. Luca was floating a few feet off the ground, his body rigid, his mouth stretched open in a silent scream. Every light shattered at once. When the darkness fell, I felt something brush past me, cold, dry, like a hand made of sand. When the lights flickered back, Luca dropped to the floor. His eyes were rolled back, and his skin had turned gray, like the color of old stone. Marek fell to his knees, sobbing. "She's killing us one by one," he whispered. "We should have listened to you." I stood frozen, staring at Luca's lifeless body. The amulet in my pocket pulsed again. Slow, steady, like a heartbeat. I realized it wasn't mine anymore. Maybe it never was. I stopped sleeping for a while after Luca's death, but exhaustion always wins eventually. When it did, the dream came. It started with silence, the kind that makes your ears ache. I was back in the desert, standing before the tomb. The sand moved like water around my feet. Above me, the sky pulsed red, and every gust of wind carried whispers that sounded like my name. The coffin was open this time. The priestess stood beside it, tall, graceful, wrapped in gold and shadows. Her skin glowed faintly, her eyes burning like embers behind a veil of black silk. She spoke in a language I didn't know, but somehow I understood every word. "You took what was sacred," she said. "Now the sacred takes you." I tried to speak, to apologize, but my throat locked. She raised her hand, and the world shifted.
Suddenly, I was surrounded by my friends. Amir, Naomi, and Luca stood around me, their skin cracked and dry like clay, eyes hollow, lips stitched shut with golden thread. They reached for me, whispering through sealed mouths. I wanted to run, but my legs wouldn't move. Then, she stepped closer. I could smell dust and decay mixed with something sweet, like incense burning too long. She placed her hand over my heart, and pain shot through me like fire. "Return it, child of shadows," she whispered. "Return it, or you will join them." I woke screaming. The others came running. Yael, Marek, Rafik, Helena, all staring at me with the same question in their eyes. I told them everything. For the first time, none of them laughed. Marek crossed himself. Rafik muttered a prayer in Arabic. Yael only said, "She's giving us a chance." That morning, Helena found sand scattered across the floor near my bed. I hadn't brought any back from the tomb. The window was shut tight. "She's already here," Helena said quietly. "It's not a dream anymore." We decided to burn the treasure, every piece we had left, right there in the courtyard behind the hostel. The flames swallowed the gold and jewels, turning them black. The air smelled of metal and rot. But when the last piece melted, the Rin died completely. The silence that followed was worse than the screams. That night, the whisper returned, softer this time, almost tender. "Too late," she said. "The debt is not yours alone." I sat upright, heart pounding. Across the room, Rafik stirred, mumbling in his sleep. His voice wasn't his own, it was hers. When he opened his eyes, they weren't brown anymore. They were golden, glowing faintly in the dark. She smiled at me, and it was the same smile I'd seen carved on her coffin.
I didn't sleep after that night. Every time I blinked, I saw Rafik's glowing eyes staring back at me. He laughed the next morning when I confronted him, said I was losing it, but there was something wrong in his laugh. Too low, too calm, too knowing. Even Marek noticed. "He's not right," he whispered. "His reflection doesn't move when he does." We were supposed to leave Alexandria that day. Bags packed, van ready, everything. But when I woke, Rafik was gone. His bed untouched, his bag missing. For a moment, I thought he'd run. Then we heard chanting outside. Low, rhythmic, ancient. We rushed to the window. There he was, standing in the courtyard barefoot, eyes closed, the morning sun cutting across his face. Around him, sand spiraled like a living thing, floating in the air. He spoke in that same ancient language I'd heard in my dream, each word pulling at something deep in my chest, like invisible strings tugging at bone. Yale shouted his name. He turned slowly, and for a moment, his face wasn't his. It was hers. The priestess's dark eyes stared at us from behind his skin. Mark screamed and ran for the stairs. I followed, but by the time we reached the courtyard, the sand had stilled. Rafik lay on the ground, smiling faintly, a golden scar seared into his chest, the same eye symbol. Helena knelt beside him, shaking him, but his skin was cold. His mouth twitched, and in a voice that wasn't his, he whispered, "Return what you have taken." Then his jaw locked, teeth grinding, and the sound that came out after that didn't belong in this world. We buried him outside the city, near a half-crumbled chapel. Yale refused to touch his body. Mark said a prayer, though I'm not sure for who. I just stood there, clutching the amulet so hard it cut into my palm. I could feel her in it now, alive, awake, waiting. That night, Helena packed her bags. She said, "I'm going home.
This isn't worth dying for. No one tried to stop her. She left before dawn. Mark and Yale argued for hours after that. She'll kill us all if we run, Yale said. We need to return to the tomb. Mark shouted back that he'd rather die on the run than crawl back into that cursed sand. I went to bed hearing them argue, but when I woke up, the hostel was quiet again. Too quiet. I found Yale sitting by the window, staring out. Her eyes were glassy, her skin pale. Mark's gone, she said softly. He left during the night. The words froze me. We searched the streets, called his name until the sun came up. Finally, we found his camera near the edge of the harbor, floating in the water. Lens cracked, still recording. The last few seconds showed him looking into the camera, whispering something over and over. She's coming. She's coming. Then the screen went black. I didn't need to ask who she was.
By the fourth night after Merrick vanished, I knew we were next. It wasn't just the dreams anymore. Things were happening when I was awake. Sand trickling from the ceiling of my room, shadows moving behind me even when I stood under the light, my reflection logging in the mirror for half a second too long. I could hear my grandmother's voice in my head, saying the same thing she always did. When the dead want something, they don't stop asking until you listen. Yale was the only one left who still believed we could do something. We go back, she said. We take everything we stole and return it, all of it. Her hands trembled as she packed her bag. The rest of our friends, those still alive, had scattered across the country. Some stopped answering calls. Some numbers were disconnected entirely. It was just the two of us now. The drive back into the desert felt endless. The air got heavier the further we went, the sky turned white with heat, and the sand shimmered like gloss. Every time I looked at the horizon, I thought I saw movement, a figure walking behind us, staying just far enough that I could never see the face. Yale drove without saying a word. We both knew what we were heading toward. When the dunes swallowed the road and the last sign of civilization disappeared, I felt it, a pull, like gravity but deeper, older. It drew me straight toward the tomb. I hadn't been back since that night, but every rock, every mound of sand looked exactly as I remembered. The entrance still gaped open, the same stairs descending into the earth, the same whisper rising from below like a trapped breath. Yale stopped at the edge. "She's waiting," she said. I nodded. We carried the socks of gold, amulets, and relics between us and started down the stairs. The air grew colder with each step, thick with dust and something that smelled faintly like iron. I could feel the amulet under my shirt vibrating against my skin, burning almost. At the bottom, the torchlight flickered against the carvings on the wall. The story of her life was there, the priestess's rise to power, her worship, her burial alive so her spirit could guard the secrets of the gods. I traced the hieroglyphs with my fingers and whispered, "We didn't mean to desecrate you." The sarcophagus still sat in the center of the chamber, the lid half open where we'd pried it loose. Sand had drifted over it, but the face carved into the stone looked newly polished, eyes glinting as if wet. I knelt and placed the treasures at her feet. "It's yours," I said. "All of it." The air shifted. A gust of cold wind circled us, carrying whispers too faint to catch. Yale clutched my arm. "Do you feel that?" she asked. I nodded, unable to speak. The torches flared suddenly, then dimmed, and from within the sarcophagus came a single, hollow breath. I reached out, trembling, and pressed the amulet to the stone. The carvings around it began to glow gold, then red. The sand at our feet rippled like water. "It's working," Yale whispered. "She's accepting it." Then, as the glow reached the ceiling, a deep, thunderous voice filled the chamber, not from the coffin, but from the air itself. Not enough. The walls shook. Dust rained from above. Yale screamed as a shadow rose from the coffin, stretching taller than the ceiling. Two eyes, gold and endless, locked on me. "You opened my door. You cannot close it." I had heard stories all my life about the dead rising, but nothing could have prepared me for what I saw that night. The shadow pouring out of the sarcophagus wasn't smoke, and it wasn't solid either. It moved like water that knew it was alive. The eyes inside it burned like pieces of the sun, I could barely breathe. Yael was screaming beside me, clutching her chest as the wind howled around us. The voice came again, this time sharper, closer, inside my head. You disturbed the keeper of the veil. Now the veil is open. I stumbled back, covering my ears, though it made no difference. The sound wasn't something you could block out. It vibrated through bone. Every carving on the walls began to bleed light, gold dripping like liquid fire down the stones. Yael tried to run for the stairs, but the ground cracked open under her. The sand pulled at her feet, sucking her down inch by inch. I grabbed her hands, tried to pull, but she was too far gone. Her eyes locked on mine for one last second, wide and wild, and then she was gone. The sand closed over her like water sealing itself. I shouted her name until my voice broke, but there was nothing left to answer. Then the chamber went still again. My torch flickered, then died. The darkness wasn't empty. It pulsed, breathing around me. I felt something move past my shoulder, close enough that the air turned cold against my neck. You tried to return what was mine, she whispered. But what was taken is no longer whole. I reached for the amulet still hanging from my neck. The metal burned against my skin, branding me. I tore it off and threw it, but it didn't fall. It floated in front of me, spinning slowly, glowing brighter and brighter until it burst into a dozen fragments of light. The shards hung in the air, forming a shape. Her face, whole again, lips parting into a smile that didn't belong to any human being. You will carry me out, she said. Before I could move, her hand, if you could call it that, reached inside my chest. The cold hit me like lightning. My vision blurred, my heartbeat staggered, and for a moment I saw through her eyes. The desert, the horizon, freedom. She wanted to rise. She wanted the world again. I staggered back toward the stairs, every breath tearing at my lungs. The sand beneath me felt alive, shifting like it wanted to swallow me too. My legs felt heavier with each step, and I realized she was inside me now, part of me. Her voice echoed through my skull, whispering memories that weren't mine. Temples, fires, blood, the lives she had taken to keep her power alive. When I burst into the open air, the night sky didn't look the same. The stars seemed wrong, brighter, closer, and the moon had turned a dull shade of red. The wind was cold, carrying whispers in a language that hadn't been spoken in thousands of years. I fell to my knees, coughing sand, shaking, half expecting the ground to open again and swallow me whole. But it didn't. The desert was silent. Behind me, the tomb had closed itself, the entrance gone, as if it had never been there. I sat there for hours, waiting for dawn, but it never came. The horizon stayed black, and the voice inside me kept whispering, "Not done. Not yet." I realized then that she hadn't been freed. She'd simply changed prisons. And now she was inside me. By the time I stumbled back to the highway, the world felt wrong. The air was too still, the light too dim. Cars passed me on the road, but no one seemed to see me. I waved, shouted, even threw a rock at a passing truck, and it went straight through, as if the vehicle wasn't really there. That was when I realized the truth. I had left the tomb, but not completely. Part of me was still trapped beneath the sand with her. I made it to Cairo 3 days later, or maybe 3 nights. I couldn't tell anymore. Time moved differently now. Sometimes hours passed between heartbeats. Other times, everything around me sped up, people moving like fast-forwarded ghosts. I checked into a cheap hotel under a false name. I didn't want anyone to find me. I didn't want anyone else to die. The voice didn't stop. It came in whispers at first, just under the edge of hearing. "You breathe because I allow it," she said one night as I sat in the dark, staring at my reflection. My eyes were changing, a faint glow behind the iris, gold bleeding into brown. Every time I blinked, I saw her face behind mine. I tried not to look anymore. When I slept, I dreamed of sand pouring from my mouth, of temples burning, of her walking through fields of skulls beneath a black sun. I woke with blood under my fingernails, sometimes on the walls. Once I found hieroglyphs scratched into the mirror above the sink. I didn't remember writing them, but my hand ached like I had. I searched for answers. Old libraries, digital archives, anywhere that still cared about forgotten gods. I found her name, Neferet-Amun, the keeper of the veil, priestess of the passage between life and death. According to one text, she was condemned not for her crimes, but for defying death itself. Her followers had buried her alive, binding her soul to the treasure so she would never rise again. Now she was inside me, and every day she pushed harder. I could feel her testing my control, slipping into my thoughts, finishing my sentences, turning my anger into something cold and ancient. Sometimes she spoke through my mouth when I wasn't aware. The hotel staff started avoiding me. One morning I woke to find my door marked with chalk symbols, wards, protection spells. Someone had seen what I was becoming. I thought of my grandmother then, of how she used to say, "The spirit world has no mercy for those who forget respect." I wished I'd listened. I took what was never mine and now carried a god's hunger inside me. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't stop hearing her heartbeat under my own. She showed me things, places buried under the desert, people kneeling in the dark, chanting her name. My temple will rise again, through you. Each time I felt weaker afterward, as if she was siphoning me piece by piece. I tried to fight her, salt circles, prayers, even burning the last of the stolen gold I still had hidden. But the flames burned blue, and when they died, her laughter filled the room, echoing from the walls like 1,000 voices overlapping. "You cannot unmake what has already awakened," she said. That night, I packed what I had left and started back toward the desert. I didn't know if I was going there to destroy her or to die where it started. All I knew was that she wanted freedom, and if I didn't stop her, she would take it through me.
The desert looked different when I returned. It wasn't the same endless yellow I remembered. It was darker, as if the sun itself was afraid to rise. The wind howled through the dunes, carrying voices that weren't wind. Every step I took, I could feel her heartbeat echoing under the sand, like the earth itself was breathing with her trapped inside. I walked until my legs gave out, my throat burned, my lips cracked, and still she whispered, "Closer, my vessel, the door awaits." Her voice wasn't angry anymore. It was soft, almost tender. That terrified me most. She no longer had to chase me. I was bringing myself to her willingly. When I reached the spot where the tomb had been, there was nothing. No stones, no entrance. Just a stretch of sand that pulsed faintly under moonlight. I dug with my hands until my nails split. I screamed until my voice broke. Then the ground opened, quietly, like it had been waiting. The air below was cold, wet, and thick with decay. I descended with the last of my strength. The torches along the walls flickered to life one by one, lighting my path without flame. She was calling me home. At the bottom, the sarcophagus stood open, empty now. But the air shimmered above it, forming her shape, beautiful and horrifying, the gold dust of her face glowing faintly in the dark. You kept your promise, she said through my mouth. I felt her smile from inside my chest. You came back to me. I dropped to my knees, gasping, clutching the last thing I carried. My grandmother's old charm, a small stone wrapped in twine. She'd given it to me when I was a child. For when you stand where light can't reach, she'd said. I held it tight and whispered every prayer I could remember. The charm grew warm, then hot, until my skin blistered. She laughed. Do you think mortal words can bind me? Her voice filled the chamber. I was worshipped before your gods were born. But I didn't stop. I pressed the charm to my chest, over the mark that glowed beneath my skin. I thought of my friends, their faces, their screams, the way their eyes went empty. I thought of Yael sinking into the sand. I thought of the life I had before all this and the grandmother who warned me to never forget respect. I said her name over and over. Neferet-Amun. I return what I took. The light in the charm burst outward. The air cracked like thunder. Her scream shook the walls, sharp enough to tear the sky. I felt her rip through me. Cold, furious, endless. Then everything went silent. My body collapsed. The last thing I saw before darkness took me was the charm lying in the sand, still glowing faintly. When I woke, it was dawn. The tomb was gone. The desert was quiet. I was alone. My chest still burned, but the mark had faded to a scar. The voice was gone too. For the first time in months, there was only silence inside my head. I stood, watching the sun rise over the dunes. The world felt fragile again, real again. As I turned to leave, the wind carried one faint whisper, so soft I could have imagined it. We will meet again, vessel.
I thought it was over. When the tomb sealed, when her voice finally went silent, I thought I had escaped. But curses don't end. They wait. Sometimes, at night, when the world goes quiet, I still feel her breath against the back of my neck. Soft, patient, like she's standing just behind me. If you want to hear what happened after I left the desert, if you want to know what followed me home, then click subscribe because the story isn't finished. Like this video so others know they're not the only ones who've seen things they can't explain. And tell me in the comments below, do you believe the dead can return if you call their name? Until the next chapter, stay aware, stay awake, and whatever you do, don't look behind you.